great nation and covering all the events swirling around the election of 2020. We're glad you're joining us right now on whatever platform you're watching us. And I want to do a quick little program note here, because we have been silenced by several platforms here in the last several weeks. I want to make sure that we all have the opportunity to catch RSBN and all of our content that we're bringing to you. So let's go over some programming notes here real quickly. We are live on Cloud Hub. That's on channel 112 on Cloud Hub. So go to that app store, download Cloud Hub, and follow us there on channel 112. You can also go to Gab, and you can find us there at RSB Network. So go find us there at RSB Network on Gab, and also on Telegram as well at RSB Network as well. And within about a month, we're also going to be available on these platforms as well: Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Tizen, Xbox One, iOS, and Google Play. So we are going to be on all of those platforms as well. And we've been noticing a little bit of chatter amongst our social media about why we've moved to these platforms. We want to make sure that our message is really accessible to everyone. And so the more platforms that we're on, the more our message gets out. As we've seen the censorship, especially with Mike Lindell over there at MyPillow, with this Twitter being suspended, our Twitter as well was suspended for a long time, and of course our YouTube channel as well. So we are expanding to all these platforms here shortly. So let's just kind of recap that. Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Tizen, Xbox One on the iOS and Google Play. You can go download all of those apps as well. And of course, you can find us on Gab at RSB Network, and you can find us on Telegram as well at RSB Network, and of course, Clout Hub on channel 112. All right, we're here. Matt Gaetz will take the podium here at about 1 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. And when we first got here about an hour ago, it seemed like no one was going to show up. That is not the case right now. Let's see, Miles, if we could turn the camera around. We probably have, I would say, about 200 to 250 people have gathered outside this beautiful state capitol. And the message is clear. People here gathered support this president. I should say President Trump, former President Trump. They support the Make America Great Again agenda. That's why they're here. That's why they supported President Trump back in 2016. And that's why they're supporting him right now. And we're going to see if we can talk to a few people over here and talk about why they're here today. A very passionate group of people. It's very pro-American. And I've got one lady that's joined me here. We are live on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thank you so much. I spoke to you earlier about why you're here. Tell our viewers why you felt like you had to come here today to hear Matt Gaetz and all of the pro-America agenda.
Well, I love Donald Trump. I voted for him, and he's going to be back. And Matt Gaetz, he supports him. He's young, not old like me. I want to go for those young ones. And the people here are wonderful. We all recognize what's important in our country. Donald Trump has fought for the middleman. That's me.
So what's your thoughts on Liz Cheney and her not getting behind Donald Trump 100%? And that's why, really, Matt has come to the Capitol.
I'm very upset with her. I like some of the things that she talked about before. I liked that she's for Israel and that. But when she said impeach Donald Trump, she lost me. She's our representative, not our conscience. And she said she went there to vote our conscience. She's there to vote what we want her to vote. That's not what most of Wyoming wants.
Yeah, Trump won the state of Wyoming overwhelming this last election, I think by 74% of the popular vote. Yeah. So you're saying that she's not really representing the people here in Wyoming?
No, she didn't. Not on that issue. And there were a couple of them because I called out there and I left messages that I'm very disappointed that she's going, to me, it seems like she wants to get Democrats to be on her side too. And you can't do that. You have to stand for what you believe in. Wyoming believes in Donald Trump for the most part, big time.
And we've had a couple of hecklers out here as well saying that Donald Trump is not our president, that Joe Biden's our president. The normal kickback you'd usually see at a Trump rally. But we got to say the law enforcement people here handled it very well, right?
Very well. You did, too. Thank you.
I appreciate
that. Was great. Yeah, you got
I had a little speech I delivered to him earlier, right?
Oh, that's great. It was very good, and he left.
Yeah, and he did leave after my speech. It was just
he only had one adjective.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming, and we look forward to hearing what Matt has to say. And that is just an example of what the feeling is here in Wyoming. People want to continue the America First mindset. It's that a mindset of putting America first. We saw what Joe Biden did in the first couple of days in office with these executive orders, which essentially put maybe America third or fourth on the list. We need to get back to putting America first in the minds of our people that lead this country. Before we get started, I also want to give a special shout out to our friend Mike Lindell over at mypillow.com. He was just on Fox News a couple nights ago talking about the censorship that's going on with his company amongst all the platforms. Twitter permanently suspending his account. But the Made in America and the whole mindset of supporting conservative values and companies will continue. So we want you to do this. Go to mypillow.com. That's mypillow.com and help support Mike Lindell and help support us over at Right Side Broadcasting. So we do get a portion of proceeds from all those sales over at the website. So go to mypillow.com, put in the promo code RSBN at checkout and get up to 66% off your entire order. Get those Giza sheets, get those dog beds, get those pillows that we've all loved. And I've seen such a push on social media of people saying, you know what, if the big box stores want to completely wipe Mike Lindell off the shelves there, we'll take it upon ourselves to go to the website and order these products. So let's do that. Let's fight back against the cancel culture, and let's go do it. Let's go buy as many pillows as you can, and of course those proceeds, some of those proceeds here go to fund Right Side Broadcasting, which is so important. It helps us continue all the efforts that we're doing here today. So go to mypillow.com and don't forget that promo code RSBN at checkout and get up to 66% off. I said earlier we had some hecklers here, and I had brought up what is so controversial about love of country, love of God, biblical values. Our founding fathers laid out the blueprint for our country based on Judeo-Christian values. We're one of the only countries in the world that have really stayed with that. So the removal of God and the removal of biblical principles in our blueprint and our Constitution goes against what this country stands for. So I say this. If you're looking for God to bless the Biden administration, it's not going to happen, because God is not going to bless those that are against him. So the Biden is trying to undo the U.S. Constitution and the God-given rights that he has given to us. Don't expect God to bless the Biden administration. Don't expect it. We can pray for each other. We can pray for our government. And we can just pray that when we come out of this, that we're a better nation, we're better people, and hopefully more people come to Christ and more people come to God and find peace in themselves. Let's turn the camera one more time and show a few more people have shown up here in the last few minutes, and we certainly appreciate everybody who's come out today, and we appreciate you watching us right now. We know that it's been very difficult to find us at certain times on the internet because of the social media censorship that's been going on. But we want to remind everybody, you can find us on Clout Hub channel 112. You can also follow us on Gab at RSB Network there. That's G-A-B, Gab. Go to your iStore, your iOS, Android, and download that app as well. I believe you can download it on the Apple platform as well. You can also follow us on Telegram as well at RSB Network. RSB Network. So go follow us on all of the platforms there. And in about a month, we'll be available on Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Tizen, Xbox One. And of course, you can go to your iOS and Google Play stores to download all of those different platforms. So we're just trying to expand the coverage here. A lot of people said that we have, quote, sold out are going to these alternative platforms, and we just want to make sure that we get our message to as many people as possible, and we can only do that by going on as many platforms as possible, as we never know what big tech has planned, because what's going on is the more people that have speak their minds on conservative values, the more likelihood that their social media platforms will be shadow banned, throttled down, censored, or completely eliminated. So we're just trying to make sure that we are on as many platforms as possible. So anyway, just now joining us, we are live at the steps of the Capitol here in Wyoming, Cheyenne, Wyoming. What a beautiful Capitol this is. Earlier, Miles and myself had an opportunity to walk the halls of this beautiful Capitol, and we walked in right in the front door, was greeted by an officer, walked around, walked upstairs. There was a Senate session going on. There's actually, there's people working here right now. At any point, do we feel like we were in danger? And at any point, we felt like this was not our house. So if you're in Wyoming, this is your house. This is the people's house, and it's very well on display here in Wyoming. There is not this massive overreach of security here blocking people from coming here. So we want to give a shout out to the state officials here in Wyoming. What a beautiful facility they have, and the fact that they're here. Little known fact, women in the world, this is any kind of organized government in the world, this was the first place that women had the right to vote, was given right here in Cheyenne, Wyoming, in this building. It's an amazing story. Very, very historic building there. I mean, think about that. Over the history of time and all the governments in the world, that it took this building right here and this government, the state of Wyoming, to give women the right to vote. And I believe the first African-American woman that voted was from here as well. We heard this story earlier, and so just what an amazing history in this whole part of the country. It's got kind of this cowboy mindset, if you will. This is the first time I've been in Wyoming, and it's just such a beautiful state, beautiful drive coming in from Denver. We'll see if I can get a couple of people to go over and talk about why you're here. No. You can if you want to. No, everyone's kind of scared to come on camera. We'll get a picture sign here in a little bit, but a lot of passion here. A lot of Trump supporters are out on the steps here supporting former President Trump and his agenda of Make America First, putting America first, and that is something I don't think we can all disagree with. Now, if we've seen what President Biden has done just in the first couple of days of administration with the executive orders to roll back a lot of the things that President Trump put in law, that might give you an indication of what we can expect in the next 4 years. Now, to give you a quick D.C. update, I was in contact with a few friends in the media that still are right there in the heart of D.C. The fences are still up, the barriers are still up, and the guards and troops are still there. Not as many when we were there, but nevertheless, the protection of that whole Capitol area is still in place, and from what I've been told, that will stay in place until the end of this, quote, impeachment trial, which I'm sure we're going to hear a little bit from Matt Gaetz today, has concluded. Now, if you're not following the impeachment process and what's happening, right now, there's only 5 Republicans that have said that they're open to hearing the impeachment process. So that leaves a big gap of 17 Republicans is what they would need to actually go through with the impeachment. Now, the likelihood of that happening is really zero. So this is just political theater in the minds of American people, of once again trying to completely erase what this president has done the last 4 years. So we'll keep covering the process on that. We'll keep updating you on what's going on. But this is nothing more than political theater in Washington. It has nothing. You can only impeach a current president, someone that's currently serving the American people. So just the process itself is unconstitutional. But then again, when has many people on the left respected the Constitution and followed that? So here we go again, another sham of an impeachment trial that will go nowhere, and they're just looking to basically erase everything this country stands for. But mind you, we have 75 to 80 million Americans that voted for this president, no matter what you do against President Trump to try to erase his footprint on our American politics, you cannot erase 75 to 80 million Americans that voted for the principles that Donald Trump stood for. So what should scare the left and the Democrats is not a return of Donald Trump. What should scare them is the return of 75 to 80 million people that will return back to the polls and support the values that the president stood for. So that really should be what they should fear in this upcoming election. That's been one of the things that Republicans have done here and have promised to do the next 2 years, is really clean up the election process and clean up the whole mail-in balloting and drop boxes and all the things that we've seen so many discrepancies over the last election cycle, and also with the Dominion machines. I know there's some investigations on that. So I think the next 2 years will be nothing but a let's clean up the election process. Let's get election integrity brought back into the discussion so that there is no discrepancy of who wins the election. I think this is something that we never want to see again, either on a Republican side, a Democrat side, an independent side. We want a clean and fair election that cannot be argued for months later. So that's what we're all pushing for. Let me step aside again, show a little bit of cloud. I know we've got some people. I'll step around that way. Miles, once you turn to your right, we'll show some people that have gathered here. A lot of people have signs supporting the president, have signs supporting Matt Gaetz. You know, it took Matt Gaetz to come up to the great state of Wyoming to bring up this conversation about Liz Cheney, and I'm sure we're going to hear lots of that later on when he takes the stage here shortly, really any moment. It's about 1 o'clock here, Mountain Standard Time, so he's anticipated of taking the stage there. So anyway, we're glad you're joining us wherever you're watching us from. Please go on and share this broadcast, tag a friend that perhaps needs to hear this. It really is amazing over the last couple months how many people that were maybe undecided or independent has seen a lot of the evidence that have come out and have really seen what Joe Biden intends to do with his administration, and now they're engaged in politics. So I encourage everyone watching us, get engaged in the political spectrum, whether it's on a national level, your state level, your local level. I said this before. You can get involved with your own community, your school boards, your city council meetings. That's really where a lot of the immediate change will take place in your life. So hopefully that is something that when this is said and done, we can look back and go, you know what, we engaged more people in politics than ever before. We engaged more people to get involved with what's going on in their daily life than ever before. Perhaps that is what will come out of this as well. And actually from a spiritual standpoint, this is an evangelistic time in our country. More people have come to their faith than really in the last 50, 60 years. It's because for once we had an administration, the Trump administration, that acknowledged the importance of God in our lives, our government, and our society. And this is something that I think a lot of people want to keep, because we know what happens when you remove biblical principles from your government. We've seen what happens with all of that. And when you look at... Go ahead. Hey, it's live television. What can you say? There's a lot of media here, by the way, which is something that we didn't know would quite show up. But we have probably about a dozen media outlets here covering this event, and we're certainly glad they're here. Obviously, we want to get the message out to as many people. We got going. You know what? That is what a lot of people here have been saying before this started, was go home Cheney. They're not happy with the way she did not back President Trump, and she voted for the impeachment of this president. So that is on the minds of a lot of people here, and I would imagine we're going to hear more about that later. But I want to talk a little bit more about the awakening, spiritual awakening that's happening in this country. We're seeing more people come to faith during this election and after this election, because they see that biblical principles are very important and in the fundamental blueprints of our country and our God-given rights. And our rights aren't given to us by our government. Our rights are given to us by God, and that's one thing that we all need to be reminded of from time to time. So we're hoping that more people get involved, and I know that I get a lot of personal messages on social media about talking openly about our faith here on camera. We had several people come up to us before we got started, thanking us for talking about the love of God and the love of country. And I think that any red-blooded American should be able to openly talk about that on any platform in this country. All right, we've got a couple people that joined us here on the side. We've got veterans. We've got people from the Colorado, Denver area have made their trip up north to support Matt Gaetz and his message here at the Capitol. I want to bring in this young lady that I had a few words with earlier. How you doing? We're live on Whiteside Broadcasting. How are you today?
My day is awesome. I'm proud to be an American. I'm so happy I can be here to do the little bit that I can. I'm a little person, but I got a big heart, and I love this country.
Okay, you walked up. You've got your Trump gear on. What is the reception from the people here in Cheyenne when they see your Trump gear that you're proudly representing?
Oh, man, it's nothing but smiles. But these are the good people. These are your grassroots, conservative. They love everybody. Wyoming is conservative, and that's what we stand for. And people will shake your hand. And listen, I don't even have to lock my doors here. That's what it means.
Okay, what's your thoughts on Liz Cheney? Obviously, Matt Gaetz came up here from Florida to talk about her and not backing President Trump, and she's the third, most powerful Republican right now. What's your thoughts on her, and what should happen?
Unfortunately, I believe that she used the name to get into the position. It's about power, it's about money, and she does not represent Wyoming. Matt Gaetz has more integrity in his pinky than she could even imagine, and he loves Wyoming more than she does.
So is this in a way a purge of a lot of rhino Republicans, a lot of the establishment that never really had America's people at best interest, that they're using this? Is this an opportunity to kind of redefine the Republican Party or perhaps start a new party?
Well, I'm still in the middle on that. I don't know about starting a new party. Maybe the GOP and that term rhinos, maybe it's something in these last 4 years it stirred up a movement among people that we want to get back to our traditional values. So maybe we're still in discovery mode.
I love asking Trump supporters this. What was some of the biggest accomplishments that he did that made you so happy while he was in office?
Okay, number one, Supreme Court Justice. Number two, he said he was going to drain the swamp. He is draining, did drain, is draining, and that's why Washington hates him. That's why I voted for Trump.
And obviously, if he ever got into politics directly, no matter on what level, he has your vote, right?
Oh, my God. Every day till the day I die. Every day.
I think I said earlier, they may try to wipe out his footprint here in government, but he cannot wipe out the 75 to 80 million people just like you.
That's what I said. He has stirred a movement and people like me that want to be proactive. Whether he's here right now or in the future or not at all, he has stirred a movement amongst us that love our country.
Okay, you have a county just west of here that that went to Biden this last election. I have not seen one Biden sign in this city at all. How? Do you believe that he even won that county, and why do you think he won that county? I mean, it really is incredible that
it's got the university. Okay. There's a lot of liberals. Most of the restaurants have BLM posters in there. No,
so that's why he won that county, and the other one's up towards Jackson.
Yeah, well, they're a little bit more liberal. Okay, that's all we'll say about that.
There you go. Look. Absolutely. Well, we appreciate your time. Yeah, there you go. God bless you. Thank you for coming out. Hey. That was great stuff. As we're moments away here from taking the podium here, thanks you for joining us. You can always share this broadcast. Let's get as many people watching this as possible as we are probably into the next phase of what will happen within the Republican Party and what would that look like after all of this and how it be redefined as well. So we'll obviously hear some words from Matt here momentarily to talk about maybe the future of this. And I did notice that he is taking his little tour across this country to various capitals and talking about, each state. Now, we just came from Arizona a few days ago. We saw exactly what happened there in the state of Arizona as far as internally, a lot of controversy inside with leadership there in the GOP in Arizona. Daniel McCarthy was one that took the stage, took the microphone, had a few words about getting out some of these established Republicans that do not have President Trump's agenda first and foremost in their mindset. So perhaps we'll hear a little bit about that today in Wyoming. Of course, he probably will announce a little more of a tour to other capitals around the country, because this is something that we need to really make sure that we define our purpose, we get leadership that we can trust in the Republican Party, leadership that we know that will stand for the people and stand for the values that President Trump has laid forward. And of course, that's something that we all want. So we'll see what happens over the next 8 to 10 months. And of course, we go into the primaries 2022. A lot of states will flip, hopefully, and will change. A lot of House, we can probably get more seats there, and we'll see what happens. I mean, the political landscape right now is something that we've never seen before, and it's very volatile, and I think that you're going to see some change in Washington. You're going to see change in about every state. We've seen even polling data in certain you would think, very liberal states like Washington State and California. There is some evidence that they are very close to becoming a Republican state. And we can all hope that we clean up the election integrity in some of those states, and we can make sure that perhaps is possible. So we're glad you're joining us right now. We are live at the steps of the Capitol here in Wyoming, awaiting Matt Gaetz to take the podium and talk about the movement to basically make America first again. And, of course, speak out against Liz Cheney and some of her basically not standing behind the president during this whole process. So we'll continue to bring all this in a very volatile situation here. I'm going to keep up some notes. Also, I'm going to go over some platforms that you can find us. My glasses on here real quick. Obviously with the censorship going on the internet, we've had to kind of pivot. You can now follow us on Gab at RSB Network, and also on Telegram at RSB Network as well. Within about a month, we're going to be available on Fire TV, Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Xbox One, and of course you can find those on the iOS and your Google Play stores as well to get all of those platforms, those apps, because as we've seen what has happened, our YouTube channel was temporarily suspended. Our Twitter, we just got up today. Again, that was suspended. So we all need to make sure that we have as many platforms as possible for this content to go out, because as we know, you're only on for as long as big tech wants you to be on. So we need to make sure that we continue to spread the message.
Mic check.
As well.
Can you hear me in the back?
Also,
mic check.
We want to make sure, before we go, we are 100% viewer supported, so please go to our website, rsbnetwork.com. RSB Network, thank you very much, .com. Hey, free hugs today, right? You're great. Go to our website and donate what you can, as we are 100% viewer supported, so thank you so much for that. That was probably the best hug I've had all day. I like that. Best hug I've had all day. I mean, you had millions of people watching you.
I'm a supporter.
There you go. Why are you here?
Why not? Liz Cheney? Are you kidding me? She is a big traitor. Absolutely. The worst traitor for Wyoming has ever seen. 75% of us voted for Trump. She axed him the first chance she got. It is horrible.
Greatest,
She is toast.
real quickly, greatest accomplishment from Donald Trump was what?
Pardon?
Greatest accomplishment by our president, Donald Trump, was what? What was your favorite thing he did in office?
Oh my gosh, the list is long. Right to life. I love President Trump. He is an absolute man. He'll be back.
He'll be back. All right, I want to give you another hug.
my
Thank you so
gosh.
much. Well, God bless you for coming over here. And that's just some of the feeling here at the Capitol. People love this president. They love what he stood for. They love what he's doing. And it looks like we're just moments away from having Matt walk out and take the podium. So we'll keep the camera over there to give you full coverage on that. But what I was saying before the Hug Fest is we are 100% viewer supported. So please think about going to our website, rsbnetwork.com/donate, rsbnetwork.com/donate, and just give what you can, because we are 100% viewer supported, and we are trying to continue to bring this fight to you, and the fight for conservatism, fight for freedom. And I say fight, these days you say the word fight and people think you're in sight. Here we go.
Welcome, Ocean Andrew.
All right, you got Ocean Andrew.
Together for Ocean
turn it over to the speaker.
Good afternoon, everyone. It means a great deal to me to see so many of you took the time to be here today. My name is Ocean Andrew from House District 46, and I want to thank Congressman Gaetz for coming up from the great state of Florida. All right. My name is Ocean Andrew from House District 46. And I want to thank Congressman Gaetz for coming up from the great state of Florida to be here in the great state of Wyoming today. Not everyone in Washington represents their state as well as Matt Gaetz does. Unfortunately, our own representative would rather send our taxpayer money to the Middle East instead of keeping it here at home. Wyoming believes in America first, in ending foreign wars, and keeping the government out of our lives. Simply put, come next election, Wyoming deserves better. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Congressman Gaetz.
I love Wyoming! I think if Liz Cheney had a rally with all of her supporters, they could likely meet inside one of the elevators in the Capitol and still have plenty of room for social distancing. I want to thank Representative Ocean Andrew. His first day as a state representative was yesterday, and he invited me to be here with all of you today. I'd say that's a pretty good start for the young man. I'll confess to you, this is my first time in Wyoming. I've been here for about an hour, and I feel like I already know the place a lot better than your misguided representative, Liz Cheney. My grandfather was a small-town mayor in not-too-distant North Dakota. He passed before his time, but not before passing into legend. And he passed along a little wisdom to my dad. My old man calls it prairie populism. Do right by your people. Never sell out. Fight their dislikes. And never let the powerful run over the weak. Inspire people through courage and tell the truth. The truth is that the establishment in both political parties have teamed up to screw our fellow Americans for generations. Now in Washington, D.C., the private insider club of Joe Biden, Mitch McConnell, Mitt Romney, Nancy Pelosi, and Liz Cheney, they want to return our government to its default setting, enriching them, making them more powerful at our expense. But we can stop them, and it starts right here in Wyoming. After all, prairie populism is a lot more effective when we join together, across party lines, getting rid of those old dogmas. Our battle is no longer just Republican versus Democrat. It's not just red team versus blue team. Absolutely not. We got to put America first. Those are the battles. Those are the old battles of yesteryear. But people have always come to the great frontiers of Wyoming to win the future. That's why I'm here. We're going to see a better future for our people. We're going to draw it closer to us, and we are going to ensure that we get better representation all over this great country to fight for the men and women who have made America great. We deserve American greatness, not managed decline. And in that battle, it's the establishment against the rest of us. And sure, they control big media, big corporations, big tech, big defense contractors, and they walk around Washington, D.C. with big checkbooks and even bigger egos. But we have something that is far more precious and far more powerful. We control the true spirit and identity of America. If you want to prove that you have the power, defeat Liz Cheney in this upcoming election, and Wyoming will bring Washington to its knees. You see, Washington, D.C. mythologizes the establishment power brokers like Liz Cheney for climbing in a deeply corrupt game. But there are more of us than there are of them, and we see the fakes and the phonies more clearly than ever before. They've suppressed American wages by allowing unchecked illegal immigration. They've hollowed out the towns and villages in our country with trade deals that enrich China at the expense of our people. We were told by Liz Cheney and all of the globalists that if we accepted globalism, we would export America's best crops, best products, best services. But instead, all too often, we are exporting America's bravest patriots to die in foreign distant lands. A nation that sends its best to go fight in the worst places in the world should not send its worst to be representatives in the United States Congress. But we are here in happy spirit and joy because we do not have to accept failure or losing. We do not have to be condemned to some grim fate. We're Americans. And if there's a fight for the soul of this country, we intend to win it. Our fellow Americans aren't going to be living like the folks in the Portland, Oregon Autonomous Zone or the Chaz. Our fellow Americans aren't going to accept New York's silly lockdowns that constrain freedom. Our fellow Americans aren't going to live on the feces-stained sidewalks of San Francisco. No, President Donald J. Trump showed us that with strong borders, with a focused foreign policy, with less regulation, with less involvement from Washington, and with lower taxes, America's best days are still yet to come. Don't you ever let some spoiled celebrity or athlete or socialist politician ever tell you otherwise. America is not just an idea. It's not just a constitution. America is our home, and we must protect our home. One thing America is not some vaccine to global tyranny that we have to administer through decades of military occupations in foreign lands. No, success means we honor how special America is, and it also means that we have to see our leaders for who they truly are. Now, Liz Cheney taunts me for wearing makeup in my television appearances. Now, makeup only hides the slightest imperfections of the skin. It does very little to conceal the soulless corruption of Washington, D.C. You know, it's pretty easy for me to get a little makeup off my shirt. Far more difficult for Liz Cheney to get the blood off her hands after sending America's best to foreign lands to die for a knowable gain and personal profit. 80% of Taliban fighters have never been more than 20 miles for their own home. And so it's a little confusing to me why Liz Cheney's always fighting in Congress to spend more money in Kandahar and in Arabia than in the great state of Wyoming. But maybe it shouldn't surprise us all that much. In 2016, in that election cycle, Liz Cheney announced her candidacy for Congress from Wyoming from Virginia. How out of touch! How untouchable she must think she is. Now, the neocons say we gotta fight them abroad so we don't have to fight them at home. Well, maybe we have to fight them abroad because we are abroad so much. You know, I was gonna say maybe we ought to fight the neocons at home so we don't have to fight them in Washington, D.C. But that's the problem, isn't it? Because the neocons are at home in Washington, D.C. Liz Cheney and I came to Congress in the same class, but she was already a master of the ways of the Beltway in ways I will never be, because she's lived there for all but about 2 years of her life. That was a little bit of a problem when she wanted to run for the United States Senate here in Wyoming. She claimed to be a resident of the state for 10 years based on a fishing license. Of course, she wasn't, and she quickly withdrew. By my count, that's the last time a Cheney had a viable exit strategy. I think your U.S. Senator Loomis said it best. It's a unique strategy to live your entire life elsewhere and then come to a state a year before you're going to announce that you're going to run for that state's highest office. I think Senator Loomis is right. Liz Cheney is not Wyoming. But Cheney came back. The neocons are nothing if not persistent. Now in 2016, I announced my campaign for Congress in Florida's 1st Congressional District. I represent the district that has the highest concentration of active duty military and veterans in America, and we love our military and veterans. You see where I come from, military families, they aren't just a great feature of our community, they are the essential ingredient of our community. And I see every day the cost of the wars that Liz Cheney has advocated for. I see it in the tearful goodbyes in airports, the marriages that are destroyed, the parenting that's interrupted, the drug abuse, the veteran suicide, lost limbs, lost minds, lost lives, lost hope.
Amen.
We are here in the cowboy state. Now, I understand that, the media, they used to call Bush Cheney cowboys abroad, but I think that's a slur. Because the cowboys I know, sure, they're tough and they're brave, but they're also judicious and smart and thoughtful and tender and gentle when the cause comes. Not exactly what you think about when you think of disloyal Liz Cheney. Now, the real cowboys, I guess they fought Indians so that they could use the land. But what are America's soldiers even fighting for that Liz Cheney sends all around the world? What are the great benefits that we all get from our misadventures in Syria and Afghanistan and Somalia? Places that a lot of Americans couldn't even point to on a map. You see, real cowboys, they would have found greener pastures than Afghanistan, and it wouldn't have taken them 20 years to do it. We are here in Wyoming, and in a lot of ways, this feels like the most American of states. Self-reliant, on the frontier, maybe a little hard to get to. And so how is it then that Wyoming has such a disappointing congresswoman? I guess you have to ask yourself the question, why is it that America has such a disappointing Congress? Because in a lot of ways, Liz Cheney is exactly like Congress. Deeply unpopular and owned by special interests. Matter of fact, last year, in the year 2020, Liz Cheney raised more money from political action committees than she raised from actual human beings. Think about that. More money from PACs than from people. She works for them, not you. She does their bidding, not yours. I stand before you the only Republican in Congress who refuses all donations from political action committees. Their money is no good with me. The American people should be our one and only special interest. You know, Liz Cheney calls herself a leader in Washington, but to me, being a leader does not mean winning an election amongst a bunch of politicians. Being a leader doesn't even mean that you've lived a flawless personal life. I can tell you, I sure haven't. I'd probably say not even former President Trump has. Leadership doesn't mean backing a Nancy Pelosi fueled impeachment by reflex. You know, there's basically two things that Liz Cheney has done in the United States Congress: frustrate the agenda of President Trump and sell out to the forever war machine that blows stuff up that nobody cares about, that rebuilds stuff nobody wants, and that borrows money from China to do it. All the while, defense contractors get rich, lobbyists get powerful, Congress members get reelected, and our bravest patriots, the best among us, die and are maimed on the battlefield. Our position is consistent. Liz Cheney's is not. And how can you even call yourself a representative when you don't represent the will of the people? I mean, that's what all the neocons ask about the Arab dictators. I figure maybe we ought to ask the same question of a Beltway bureaucrat turned fake cowgirl who supported an impeachment that is deeply unpopular in the state of Wyoming. Our position is remarkably consistent. And you know, Liz Cheney's kind of a hypocrite on the issue of regime change, I would say. Like, she supports regime change in the Middle East. She supported Nancy Pelosi's regime change impeachment of Donald Trump. But when a majority of the Republicans in Congress say this person no longer speaks for us, all of a sudden Liz Cheney's against regime change. You know, I think our position is the right one. Remove troops from Germany and Korea when they have served their purpose. Remove troops from Afghanistan where there is no purpose. Remove troops from Syria where there wasn't even a purpose in the first place. And remove Liz Cheney as the leader of the Republican conference. Because based on the numbers I've seen, Liz Cheney is less popular among Republicans in her own state than Muammar Gaddafi was among the Libyans. I mean, hold on, I got to get this. So I had a chance to communicate with President Trump yesterday. He sends his love. He loves you all so much. And President Trump is going to keep fighting for this country with every breath that he has. But he wanted me to share with you the results from a poll that was just released yesterday. 70% of all Wyoming voters believe that the impeachment trial is unconstitutional. Two-thirds of all voters in Wyoming disapprove of Liz Cheney's vote to impeach President Trump. Almost 60% approve of the Republicans removing Liz Cheney from Republican leadership.
We actually have a special phone call.
Oh, hold on. A man who loves Wyoming, who loves to hunt and fish. How about a word for Donald Trump Jr.? Don, what do you have to share with the people of Wyoming?
What's going on, guys? I told you. So, Wyoming, it seems like based on the numbers that Matt just talked about, it seems like Liz Cheney's favorables there are only slightly worse than her father's shooting skills. What I've seen in Republican leadership, they're supposed to do a couple of those things. They're supposed to raise money to help the party. They're supposed to recruit new members. They're supposed to lead. And I've been pretty involved for the last few years, and I haven't seen Liz Cheney do any of those things. So it's time to have a change at the top. It's time to have people that are going to start representing the people. Not their own agendas, not their own nonsense, but their constituency. And since the people of Wyoming are clearly not thrilled with Liz Cheney, let's find someone who can replace her and actually do that job well. An important thing to remember is let's find someone good and let's find one person and back it. The only way that never-ending war Liz Cheney stays in there is if 20 people run, 20 people split up the vote, and she gets a couple of the rhino losers together to actually take the biggest number. So let's be careful about who it is. Don't just back the first person that comes along. Let's vet these guys and find the antithesis of Liz Cheney. Let's find someone who's for America and against wars. That's for the working man and against the special interests. Let's find exactly the opposite of her, and let's back that person fully. But let's not make that decision today. We have some time. Let's find the right one. Let's not split this vote up and blow our opportunity to get rid of a rhino.
All right, thank you, Don. Now, there are some who've only sought the removal of Liz Cheney following impeachment, but I'll share with you, I'm OG on the Team Cheney removal movement. I called for her ouster when she went after one of America's best congressmen, Thomas Massie. Now, Thomas might not be as well known as I am, but he's far smarter. A Kentucky genius, went to MIT, helped develop and advance virtual reality, of all things. I think Congress is probably the worst of virtual reality.
Thank you for your courage.
But you know, with Thomas, he does stuff that in Washington seems very weird, very strange, very peculiar. You see, when the leadership in both parties team up for trillions of dollars in spending without so much as a recorded vote, Thomas objects to make Congress actually show up and vote before they can sell out the American people. When presidents of both parties have tried to do an end run around Congress to suck our nation into new endless wars, Thomas Massie votes with the Constitution, not with party leadership. And when senior government officials in our intelligence community spy on Americans, break the law, and lie to Congress about it, Thomas Massie exposes them to protect the rest of us. Now, Thomas may be eccentric and different, but I think we need more brilliant people in Congress, not less. But see, there is no room for the liberty-loving contingent of our movement in Liz Cheney's Republican Party. When Massie got crossways with Trump, Liz backed a primary challenger, and Thomas won with over 80% of the vote. I welcome the libertarians, the prairie populists, the America First crowd. And I think we'll have to probably forgive each other of our preferences and our foils and follies, our peculiarities and our peccadillos, because it is going to take every one of us working together, driving our agenda and saving this great country, the greatest country that has ever existed in all of human history. I think we're better than the mean girls style of politics of Liz Cheney that would stuff the nerds into lockers and question the masculinity of her critics. In 1988, when George H.W. Bush was accepting the Republican nomination for president, he said, "I am a quiet man, and I hear the quiet people of this country." Well, America First, we are not a quiet movement, and I am not a quiet man. I may be a canceled man in some corners, but I hear the forgotten, the canceled, the downtrodden, and those who believe that they need a voice in our government that actually speaks for them. And what I hear is that the silent majority is getting louder every day. Now, Liz Cheney denounces me for being on television. She who was once a paid television contributor. You know, hey, at least they don't have to pay me. I'll go anywhere. I'll be on any network. I'll take on any host to defend America and her people. That is what our movement requires. Wyoming is a great state. You are great people. You are real America. We are in a battle for the soul of the Republican Party, and I intend to win it. You can help me. You can help me break a corrupt system. You can send a representative who actually represents you. And you can send Liz Cheney home, back home to Washington, D.C. Thank you all so much. God bless you. God bless our great country. It's going to be a long 2 years, but let's go get them.
Stood for, and as I was meeting some of the participants here, we'll see if we can scramble, perhaps have a few words with Matt, which would be amazing. And he spoke about really rooting out the established Republicans that have been in control for dozens of years and really getting back to fighting for the American people and this new mindset of putting America first. And that is a very consistent message that we have seen for quite some time, especially since 2016 when President Trump launched his campaign. So we'll see exactly what happens. I mean, Matt Gaetz is calling for leadership, someone to step up in the Republican Party here in the state of Wyoming, someone that can be trusted, talked about, not necessarily the first person who shows up, not necessarily the first person that comes to mind, that we should think this through and find out who could be the new leadership here in Wyoming for the Republican Party. And that's something that he has put a call out to, and it's something that by the response of the crowd, they have shown their approval of that as well. He called out some of the past decisions of Liz Cheney and the Republican Party, going into needless wars and going into conflicts with countries that we don't have an interest there. And he named some of those countries, and getting our troops back to the United States and save American lives. And that's what he is very much about as well when it comes to military involvement, not only around the country. Let me step aside. I know that we got a lot going on here, and Miles is trying to get this where we can get a better shot of Gaetz. Obviously, he's amongst the crowd there, taking pictures. A very popular guy here in Wyoming, and he has said that this is the first time that he's ever been to Wyoming, and so loves the state. A lot of people even shouted from the crowd, "Move here." And of course, fine people of Florida would probably disagree with you on that. They are very happy with what this gentleman has done within their state the last few years and what he is doing for the American people. So we certainly appreciate him coming here and sharing some of his time with the people of here of Wyoming. And this could be one of many states that he visits over the next few months and over the course of the year, actually, talking about, putting America first and making sure that the Republicans that are in office have the best mindset and the best opportunity to serve the people and not big government. I also want to remind you, you can find us on Clout Hub at channel 112. You can also follow us on Gab at RSB Network. You can follow us there as well on Telegram at RSB Network. And within about a month, we'll be available on Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Tizen, Xbox One. You can find all of those on iOS and Google Play. So make sure you tune in for that. We're trying to reach as many people as possible with the additional platforms that we have because of the censorship that's taking place on the internet against us and many other conservative voices, like we've heard Mike Lindell over at MyPillow.com. And if you want to fight cancel culture, this is what you need to do. Simply log on to MyPillow.com, and shop. And you can put in the promo code RSBN at checkout and get up to 66% off your entire order. Now, I'm encouraging you to do that not only because the MyPillow is a great product. Mike Lindell is a true patriot. He is fighting for this president, for former President Donald Trump. He is fighting for conservative Judeo-Christian values in our government and our society. And he is putting his own business on the line. So let's try to help him out. Go to MyPillow.com, MyPillow.com, and do that and help him. And, of course, portion of the proceeds goes us to up. So, all right, until next time, you can follow us on all the social media. Goodbye. God bless from Cheyenne, Wyoming.